right, folks. Oh my goodness. We are live. I am live with David TaL. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, folks. Before we do, I do want to do this very quickly. I want to just take a moment to thank you guys who have been a part of supporting us. It has been unique to see just how much nonsense we have been dealing with when it comes to the whole demonetization thing. Your support is absolutely awesome. You guys are just tremendous. You're such a blessing. And man, you guys, we're just very grateful for all the hard work that you continue to do in letting people know about our channel, pushing word out about what's going on. We've got a lot of stuff happening there. So I do want to thank you in advance for all of those things. I do want to mention just very briefly for a second some of the super chats and super stickers. You guys are awesome. And I do think that it is very, very, very important, and we will talk about this a little bit later, that you support David TaL on his YouTube channel. We're going to put the link right now in not just the description, but we are also going to put it in the chat. It is Balagan Connection. You want to go there. David is doing updates regularly, and the updates are incredibly good. And by the way, David has a real sense and understanding of honoring people's time. So he has this gift of being able to deliver to you a lot of information in 4 or 5 minutes. As the time goes on, he's doing a great job with that. I personally think he should do longer videos, just my thought, but he's doing a great job. And so we're very grateful for what he's doing, and it's just great stuff. Brad Brunn, you say, indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Psalm 122:1, and I could not think of a more appropriate passage to actually be quoting in light of the time that we are in. And folks, look, I have to just tell you, it is quite a time right now. And so, and I also wanted to acknowledge Vinny. Thank you so much, bro, for your support. You say, good morning, Pastor James. Tell David thank you for the updates. And I shared his video on my show this morning. God bless. Love you guys. Awesome, Vinny. Do that, man. Vinny, you're a blessing to do that as well. The world watches you, so that's great. Viking loves Jesus. John and Roger, thank you. See, blessed, thank you. You say, I stand with Israel forever. Blessings to you, Pastor James and David. All right, guys, I know we're going to get a lot more super chats coming in, and for that, I am just truly grateful. But for the sake of the fact that we don't have a lot of time and David is on very fixed time, we are going to have to just skate through this, and I will acknowledge you guys at the end. David, talk to me, bro. We have a lot going on right now. How about we start with the update on what's going on with Israel? And for those of you that don't know, David TaL is a major in the Israeli Defense Force. He is a very dear friend of mine. He has a lot of experience as a tank commander. By the way, I did finally watch that movie that you were asking me to watch, Golda. And I'm such a nerd with all this stuff. I do so much reading on the history of Israeli wars, and the war in 73. My goodness, they did a good job with the production of that movie. There were a lot of things that were really, it was very good.
They did some good things. I think that they kind of zoomed in on the old lady who likes to smoke kind of dynamic.
I know.
I will say 2 things. And again, this is my job. This is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to turn it personal. And just listening to the actual recordings from the communication system of the guys who got caught in the outposts on the Suez Canal. Okay. And you hear the military talk, okay, with the in the middle, and you hear it just drew a shiver from my blood. And I'm going to say, truthfully, we heard some of that again last Saturday.
Yeah, and I want to tell you this, David, because, you know, obviously I understand a whole lot more Hebrew than I speak. And in that movie, they didn't do any English subtitles when they were doing the Hebrew talking. And I think the part that affected me the most in the radio traffic that was going on back and forth, I don't know if you remember this, where I think it may have been Ariel Sharon's unit or one of the units in this. No, that was later on in the movie. But early on, when they walked into that trap in the Sinai, it completely just devastated me when I heard that kid basically say, "I don't want to die," and then asked for his mom. And I know that I heard that right in Hebrew, but it was heavy to hear that on the radio. Like, it was so hard to hear that, like very, very hard.
And James, and this is what I want to stress, and to all of our people over there. Again, I know that whoever is listening to this show is a great lover of Israel, but I do need to take it down from the History Channel, from the documentary channel, and I know people who were killed last Saturday. I know the bases that were overrun. I know the villages. I know the bicycle paths. I know the overlooks. I know the little coffee shops in those kibbutzim that were completely devastated. It's not over there. It's not something that's happening. It's not part of a biblical story. It's my story.
David, me and you, it's hard for me not to get emotional. Me and you sat in one of those kibbutzes having coffee together. We likely spoke to people in that one in the South, bro, that are probably dead right now.
Totally.
Like, I don't know if anybody, like, and the tragedy about that is, especially hearing the stories that my mom used to tell me when Gaza used to belong to Egypt and she was a missionary there. Gaza had the potential to be such a beautiful coastal city. I mean, could you imagine what Gaza could have been had it not been for the influence of this kind of nonsense? It's just unbelievable. It's mind-boggling to me.
So I'm going to say biblical historians are going to go back to this for years to come and kind of talk about, just like in Nazi Germany and World War II, how unadulterated evil takes over a culture or a population or a mindset. Here, the same thing. Unadulterated evil took over the
We lost him.
first in Gaza, but that evil perpetrated and took over that whole culture, and they're all sept and they're all drowning in it. And that's part of, maybe we'll talk about this sometime when how do you say, Bible students will study morality and how evil and how the deceiver seeps into the culture and seeps into the this. We're going to talk about this, but I want to connect two things. And again, I got to make it personal. It started raining,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about all those guys now on the tanks, and I have been on tanks in Gaza in pouring down rain, where the rain is kind of pouring down your back and going all the way down into your boots, and just a bad situation has just now become. I mean, pray for these men and women. They're not all young, by the way. I was doing patrols in Gaza until I was 54 years old.
I don't know if you remember this, David, but you were on the phone with me when the rain started, and you did everything you could to keep yourself from crying because you knew immediately what that meant for the soldiers and for these kids that were out there. And I don't know if you remember that, but I was on the phone with you when that was happening, and it was killing me. It was probably around 2 a.m. my time, and it's just a travesty. I mean. You look at that and you stop for a moment to reflect upon it. But David, I want to touch up on a couple of things because there's a lot of questions people are asking, and I think that the devil uses these things to deflect from the real issues, right? Okay. Number one, there is a ongoing series of lies that I continue to hear from the media that continues to refer to Gaza as occupied territory, number one. Israel is occupied territory. I hear this a lot, occupied Palestine. I hear those statements a lot. And I want you to, because I know you have a strong sense of history, I want you to repeat the real story. We haven't rehearsed this. I haven't told you that I was going to ask you this question, but I want you to tell everybody why Israel is not occupied as they would say. I want you to understand. I want you to tell people why. Because, by the way, I'm going to make a statement that's going to sound outrageous to some people, but it's true because people don't know this. According to international law, the way that we know it with respect to the possession of land, did you know, this is to the audience, David knew this, but did you know that the state of Israel actually is the only state that legally possesses the land according to the law? So I want people to understand that. A lot of that has to do with British colonization that actually made that definitive at the time when a lot of that stuff had happened. But if you would stop to just consider for one moment real history, the possession of Israel was always in Israel's hand. Yes, there were some exchanges later on, but I want you to talk about this, David, because this is very important. I think that people need to know that Israel was given, the land of Israel that we know today was given to the Jews 2,000 years before even the discussion of Islam, before Islam was even, before the Prophet Muhammad ever even saw the day of life.
So let's start off on the base. First of all, it was given to the Jews by none other than God, and that happened in Genesis 12. Amen. Done. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, that is, but I will add something on a legal, if you want to say secular point of view. There has never been another legitimate government localized in Israel since the time that the Jews were kicked out by the Romans. Never. It's always been a part of this empire or a part of that empire, a part of that empire. Classic example would be the Rocky Mountains. It was once part of the Spanish Empire. Later on is this. I mean, different people owned it at different times, but there never was a Rocky Mountain nation. The only time there was a Jewish entity in here is in biblical times. So that's one thing to put. So Israel owns that land. And if you're a Bible-believing Christian, and if you are a liberal, ancestral-loving, indigenous-loving kind of person, this is my homeland. But let's go back to something a little bit kind of clear. This is what I've been talking about. In 1948, until 1948, there was a British mandate, meaning it wasn't Palestinian. After 1948, the War of Independence, it was the Gaza Strip was in the hands of the Egyptians, meaning it wasn't Palestinian. After 1967, the Gaza Strip was in the hands of the Israelis, meaning it wasn't Palestinian. And in 2006, Israel handed it over to none other than the Palestinians, meaning the only time the Gaza Strip was been occupied by anybody living in Gaza is when it was handed over to the Palestinians. And from 2006 till today, there are no Israelis in Gaza. We don't occupy Gaza. We don't close it off. We don't occupy. Lie number two. Gaza has the Mediterranean on one side, has Israel on another side, has another border with Israel on the long side, but we tend to forget that Gaza also has a border with Egypt, meaning there's a border crossing at Egypt that is closed or open. Why are we creating the prison? Egypt can open and close the door whenever they want. Three, Israel allows huge amounts of things to go into Gaza, including food, including medical supplies, including fuel, including electricity. All of that Israel gives to Gaza. It's not being blockaded. Now, we don't allow fertilizer inside because you can turn fertilizer into explosive. We don't allow massive piping because they close off one side, they put a cone on the other side and turn it into a missile. But we allow food, we allow medication, we allow electricity, we allow fuel inside. That was the situation. Now, here's the thing, though. They have fired rockets at us. They've massacred 1,400 people. They've stolen 200 people. They're sitting in Gaza and they say, no, but you keep on supplying our food. You keep on supplying our electricity. You keep on supplying our water. Otherwise, it's a humanitarian crisis. I don't understand the double standard.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Let me ask you this question, bro. How do you address the issue where people say that Hamas is just a group of people that are fighting for freedom. How do you respond to something like that? Because I mean, this is kind of a major. I hear this a lot, and I know that I think it's wrong. But how do you address that?
Okay, first of all, please, I'm gonna send you back to the Balagan Connection because I actually made a movie about a clip about that will be going up tomorrow. But it's one of the things that came up when I was talking is that it's very easy. Hamas was created in 1988 as an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, whose job was to be the vanguard, to be the forefront of the taking back of Palestine, of this Arab land, and returning it to Arab hands. That is their job. Their job is not to reach an agreement, not to find a way to live side by side. Their job is to destroy Israel and turn that back into Muslim territory. And open up. I mean, I need the people. Google it. Okay, Hamas Charter, Article 14. Article 14, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically says this. And in anything to do with peace agreements, all of them are not real. They're false. The only way Palestine will be freed, according to the Hamas, is by struggle, by military struggle. And we do not accept any monetary agreement, any political agreement. Only military jihad will actually retake our land back. Meaning this, the Hamas never wanted, will not want in the future, has not wanted in the past any kind of arrangement, any kind of peaceful solution. They
Yeah.
say it. They say it really. Article 14, they say it directly. They're very clear about it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And matter of fact, if I have a moment, I will actually get to reading some of that charter to you, because the charter is brutal, and I actually I spend a significant amount of time. I did a video that lasted about an hour last week, where all I did was went through the issue of the charter, the Hamas charter. And there are so many insane things that they say from within that charter. By the way, so bad that they went back and they made modifications of it. But David, I want to play a video for you that I want you to react to. There's a guy who is a very popular blogger. I think in many ways he's an admirable man, and he is a pretty well-rounded guy. I don't follow him a lot, but the reason why I did follow him, or the reason why I did watch this video, was because he was featuring a man by the name of Robert Spencer. Now, I don't know if you know who Robert Spencer is, but Robert Spencer is the founder of jihadwatch.com. He dedicates a good portion of his life pretty much showing people the effects of Islam, and how all of the things that they are doing is related to all of these things. So I want to play this clip for you, because I think this clip is going to be. I want you to react to it. Okay, I want you to tell me what you think about this. Let me know what your thoughts are on it, because I think that there's some relatively significant points here, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And this is him responding to a person who is a commentator on Al Jazeera America, right? Making the claim that Israel never had ties to the land, and the essence, they are occupiers, basically. So I want you to listen to what he has to say and tell me what you think about this. And I thought it would be good for people to hear this. Let's take a listen.
History of the last 100 years. This is really an appalling level of twisting of the historical facts. In 1947, the United Nations offered to partition what was left of the Mandate for Palestine, which was supposed to be for the Jewish national home, and create a Jewish state and an Arab state, yet another Arab state. There were already 22 Arab countries, but that was not good enough. They had to have 23. And yet they rejected that. The Jews said, yeah, sure, we'll take that. And they took the little bit, the sliver of the original mandate that was left, and they made Israel there. The Arabs rejected a Palestinian state in 1948. Then in 1967, the offer was made again after the 6-Day War. in the 70s at the Camp David Accords, in the 90s at the Oslo Accords. In the 2000s, there was an offer made by the Prime Minister of Israel for everything that the Palestinians were demanding. It was like 99% of the territorial demands they were making, plus extra for the 1%. They were the Prime Minister offered them compensation in other areas for the 1% that he didn't want to give. They rejected that. The idea that the Palestinians have wanted to make peace and the Israelis have rejected it is completely ahistorical. It's just the other way around. And when it comes to nonviolent initiatives, the idea that the Israelis have crushed nonviolent initiatives and are oppressing the Palestinians is likewise completely false. The fact is that when he brushes by it real quick, he says, Hamas, yes, has not recognized Israel, but Fatah has, and the others have. Fatah has never recognized Israel as a Jewish state. It's recognized the existence of the state of Israel, but left open the possibility of it being overwhelmed by Arab Muslims who would transform it into an Islamic state. Has never recognized the right of a Jewish state to exist on that land. And Hamas just wants to destroy it utterly. Fatah does too, really, if you read between the lines. So the idea of Israel being able to live with that, it seems to me to be ridiculous. It's made the completely reasonable request that if we're going to make a framework for peace that's supposed to be a two-state solution in which we coexist peacefully with one another, then you have to recognize that we have a right to exist and be here. Otherwise, it's just a hollow assurance, and ultimately you're going to use the new state the way Gaza has been used as a new jihad base to launch attacks against Israel. And that's the other thing he says, that Gaza keeps getting bombed and buildings blown up and so on. This is not some gratuitous action that happens out of the blue while the Gazans are picking daisies and singing folk songs, and then suddenly the Israelis bomb the place. This is a reaction to the fact that Gaza keeps sending rockets aimed at Israeli civilians and keeps, and the rhetoric, the hair-raising genocidal rhetoric that has been recognized in Palestinian textbooks again and again and again. Children of the youngest ages are taught to hate Jews, to want to kill Jews, to think that it's a noble thing to go on jihad and kill Jews. And then it erupts into violence, the Israelis retaliate. Mark Lamont Hill is pretending as if these retaliations are gratuitous, out of the blue, and are in response to nothing. Anybody who's been following what really happens there knows that's not true.
Pretty heavy statement.
Well, and totally true. And again, I'm seeing different places on the web that is kind of playing this out. I'm going to say two things on this one. This is very, very clear. Hamas has never said they want to reach any kind of agreement with Israel. When they say occupied territory, when these Palestinians are saying occupied territory, they're not talking about the Gaza Strip, because historically, I mean, evidence-wise, the Gaza Strip is not occupied. So when they say occupied territory, and be that whoever, I mean, even right-wing porn stars in the United States, okay? Left-wing porn stars in the United States, or saying
there's some right-wing ones too.
Occupied territories. What are they talking about? Israel hasn't occupied Gaza since 2006. They're saying Israel should be destroyed. So there's no, Hamas doesn't want to compromise. They're hoping that what's happening now is going to make the world make Israel compromise. And that's part of the idea. Number two, Israel is not targeting Hamas civilians. We have told them to move out of Gaza. Israel has put a crosshair, and I'm going to say this very clear, on everybody who perpetrated that massacre. And if he is walking down the street and we pick him up on a system, a bomb will be dropped on his head. If he's driving his car down the highway, everybody who went into houses and killed women and children is a legitimate military target.
That's right.
Israel is not indiscriminately bombing Gaza. That's the whole thing. And in fact, Israel told them, get out of the way. Let us take out Hamas. We don't have a problem with the Palestinian people. And Israel doesn't want to conquer Palestine, doesn't want to retake their land. No way whatsoever. Just get away from those Hamas people because they are walking military targets. This has to be clear. Israel is not targeting the civilians. It's targeting anybody who perpetrated this terrible, terrible barbaric act.
Yeah, and I think that this is a very, very important aspect of this. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to pull up the IDF's Instagram page that actually not only allows a picture or not only allows a time for people to get away, but it even shows that there's a time period where the IDF will protect a specific route in Gaza so that people will be able to walk through that route to get out of Gaza. The IDF even says it, for this period of time, from this hour to this hour, we will not invade we will not do anything so that you can find safe passage. This is how serious they take all this stuff. And I think this is hard for people to be able to understand.
But I am going to try to divert a little bit to something that I really think we should talk about.
Yes.
Biden is going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, so I would love your take on this, bro. I honestly would love your take because I have some serious mixed feelings about this. That's another one. And then I would also, if at all possible, I would like to spend some time talking about Mossad because there's a lot of questions about that. Maybe not necessarily Mossad, but perhaps maybe we can have a conversation about potential intelligence failures.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go there. I have to go there somewhere with this. There's a reason why, because I want to protect the perception regarding what people are saying concerning this. Because just like we had a whole bunch of people that were raised up and are beginning to deny the Holocaust, now you're beginning to have people that are using these intelligence failures to actually deny what even happened, which is disgusting. But that's something that we're seeing right now, and it's just absolutely terrible. So I want to talk about that too.
Okay, I don't think we're going to have time for it all today. I want to kind of stress two things that I want to kind of connect here. The first thing is this. The fact that the president of the United States of America is going to land inside a war zone right now or inside a combat area means that this is much more than just Hamas and Israel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I want the people to realize that we are on the edge, on the brink, on the precipice of something much more going on. The fact that Biden is here means that he also knows, and the American administration knows, something much, much wider. They are trying to pour water on a potential spark that they can see kind of sparking right now. And I need the people who are listening to us, James, to kind of remember that the United States of America, as of now, and again, I don't know what's going to happen in end time, but as of now, has a role to play in what is happening. And the reason we're getting so much support, for better or for worse, and we can talk about that, is because of people like the ones who are listening to us right now have made it clear to your government that they expect your government to support Israel.
Yep.
And I think this is really important for the people to hear. Israel needs you to stand in the gap. And the way you stand in the gap is by portraying, convincing, dynamicking your government to support Israel in every way possible. Again, I'm not sure how much this administration is, but I want to say this, and I'm going to look at the camera straight and say this. You have a role to play right now in what's going to happen in Israel, and this is the role. One of the things that the United States is trying to do is to keep this event on a one front Israel-Hamas kind of dynamic. Yes. But Biden is going to be over here tomorrow. He's going over to Jordan. He's going to be talking to Sisi and Abu Mazen and King of Jordan, and they're going to be trying to create something to kind of, how do you say, off balance what's going on in order to create a counterbalance to what Iran is doing. Let's make this clear. All of this has Iran's fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, and I think that showing everybody a picture will speak volumes. The IDF just released this picture, and this should speak volumes to everybody. Let me switch over to this picture so that all of you guys see this. This is going to make you sick, but pay very close attention to it. Some of you may or may not discern what's going on. As a matter of fact, what I can do is I can bring it to a full screen so that all of you guys can actually see what this is. But what I want you to see is a picture, a satellite photo, by the way, of the area of Gaza right next to the area of Israel on October the 6th, 2023. I want you to see the same picture October the 7th, 2023. Look at how Gaza is completely unaffected, but look at how burned Israel is from all the rocket fire. And I hope that that is going to help people be able to better understand the nature of what we're dealing with right now, because what we're dealing with is serious. And that picture should speak a million words. I think it's heavy. I think it's one that is very sobering for a lot of people. And I think it's something that should wake up a lot of people to recognize what the truth is and what's really going on. Okay, I have this question for you, and I feel like we have to touch up on this, David. What would you say about what appears to be a serious intelligence failure? I'm hearing a lot of people say this is eerily like 1973. I will tell you this right now. I don't think they come even close, because in 1973, we were talking about military targets for the acquisition of land. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about civilian targets. But in terms of the intelligence failure, people are associating it with 1973. And as you know, many people say that 1973 was done on purpose, which there's there's a lot to say about that. But what do you say about this, David? And because this is important, because this goes to another anti-Semitic narrative that continues to show its ugly face. So maybe you could address this for a little bit.
Let's start off with this. We messed up. We dropped the ball. Let's make this clear. Okay. We dropped the ball on a philosophical, I'm going to even say spiritual level. We didn't believe they were that evil and that much hatred. We dropped the ball on an intelligence level. We thought, oh, if we track their phones, then we know what's going on. And it turns out that was not true. We dropped the ball on a tactical level. Yes, if we got a fence there and enough cameras, and that'll stop the one or two, perpetrators, a team of 10 Hamasniks coming over, and we didn't realize that they were planning 1,500 coming together. We dropped the ball on all those levels. We had the ability, we had the possibility. When I was stationed there, that would not have happened. I'm saying this very clear. I've been stationed on the Gaza border with my tank company numerous times, and I'm telling you clearly, 5 tanks along the Gaza border on Saturday morning would have stopped, and maybe not all of it, but at least 90% of it. The firepower of a town is above and beyond. We dropped the ball. That doesn't justify anything. And here's my problem. Again, I'm going to have to live with the mistake. I'm going to have to live with the fact that I didn't do this right. I'm going to have to live with the fact that I did not defend my civilian population correctly. But let's make this clear. That is no justification for what they did. And that doesn't mean that somebody in the craziness of their head sat down and said, let's let 1,400 Israelis be slaughtered by animals in order to reach some kind of political agreement. That doesn't work. I know the soldiers, I know the commanders, the people my age or the top echelon of the military. Nobody I know in the military thinks like that. I don't see any way possible that this could have been some kind of a plan like that.
That's what I'm looking for. And I think that's because for me right now, this is the big struggle. I don't think that right now, because of the time that we're in, there's a lot of people that are willing to just be as open and honest as you're being right now. Because if you admit that there was a flaw or there was a weakness that maybe, or an area that could have been exploited, then people think that that's a sign of weakness. What people don't realize, especially with Israel, is once Israel sees an opening or a flaw, it will never again happen, right? And I think that that's kind of an important thing. But what I need people to understand right now is that we're not talking about some kind of a conspiracy to be able to allow some kind of a bombing campaign or military operation, and that's what I'm trying to I'm looking for, because the people that are the closest to me that I'm talking to are all telling me the same thing you're telling me, that this was a massive error in the sense that they underestimated what they thought Hamas could actually do. And it's not just what they thought Hamas could do, but the fact that they would even do it. They thought that this was far from their mind.
Our left was saying, give them work, give them a good life, and they won't hate us like this. That was wrong. And I'm going to say this. We learned this is wrong, and this will never happen again. But I'm telling you, United States of America, you're hated as much as we are.
Oh, if not more.
And here's the thing. If you think that you're going to appease some of the people that dropped the Twin Towers just because they hated you so much, that hatred hasn't gone away. And if you are not going to be on guard, if you don't realize that this can happen, then the same thing that happened to us is going to happen to you. Like, again, I've said before, we're the canary in the mine. Take that in consideration.
I also want people to understand that we have never in the United States of America experienced a one-day casualty like Israel just did. People need to understand this. If we were to call this the Pearl Harbor and the Twin Towers and 9/11 and so on, if this was 9/11 in the United States of America, then on 9/11 we would have suffered 40,000 civilian losses. If you look at the number per capita, right? 330 million Americans. If we lost the same percentage as we lost in Israel, I mean, what are we talking about? Maybe 15 to 17 million Jews worldwide, 9 million of them living in Israel. And of the 9 million, if you lose, 1,500 to 2,000, you might as well look at the statistic. The statistic is insane. It's 15 times the amount. So we're talking 45,000 Americans being lost. If you look at the parallel, it's far worse than anybody thinks. And I think the area that really David impacted me in, and he told me this, he alluded to it at the beginning of the show, was he knows people. Like, look at how many people we know with the population of 330 million in this country. All of us in one way or another have been affected by one of the victims of 9/11. Can you imagine what it's like in Israel with such a much smaller population and a more tight-knit community?
My son is at the funeral of somebody that he knows right now. James, I got to go. I got somebody else on the way.
Okay. David, any final words? I know our time is short. I wish we had more time together. There's a lot of people watching. Any final words you want to give, bro, before we wrap it up?
Well, I can't help it. Connect to the Balagan Connection. I mean, things are coming out, and we're going to be kind of getting on this war. But support Israel. I mean, there's a war. I mean, I'm seeing what's happening on your side. There are people who are saying, oh, I mean, this was justified. You have to understand the context. Yes. And I'll be giving you the context so you know that this is a war that the deceiver is.
We lost it again.
That's it.
David, Rick, can you repeat the last line? You said this is a war and we lost you. We disconnected. Can you come one more time, please? Oh, we lost him. David, we lost you again. Can you repeat it? You said this is a war and then we lost you after that.
Well, I'm saying this is a war that is being perpetrated by the deceiver himself. So start accumulating truth ammunition. And me and you have been doing that now, and other people who have been doing that now more, and start accumulating your truth ammunition, because the war is going to be a long war.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And folks, we need to pray for David. Let's do that right now. And again, go to Balagan Connection. It's really, really important. And then I am going to just put us on a pause for a second. I will come right back on and take some questions as soon as we say goodbye to David. So let's just pray. Father in heaven, we just thank you so much, Lord, for David. We pray your blessing upon him. We pray that you would just bless Israel, Lord, and protect your people, Lord. I think that there's so much here to talk about. And Lord, I just pray that you would inspire us to be truth tellers, Lord, in the midst of all of this. So Lord, we love you. We thank you, Lord. Just go before us. Fill us with your spirit now, Lord. Help us to continue to seek you, Lord, and to just put you first in all that we do. We love you, and we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, guys, I'm asking that you stick around. I am going to say goodbye to David really quickly, but I'm going to put up a temporary screen up that just says we'll be back shortly. So just stand by. I'll be back in a few minutes to take some questions. So stand by, and we'll go from there. Okay, see you guys in just a minute. All right. What I think I'm going to do is take some questions now. I know we've got them. If you guys, and this is something that we typically don't do, but I'm going to do that. We're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to jump over to locals, where I have a conversation to be had with you guys. There's a few things that we've got to go over together on locals. So for those of you guys, by the way, just a quick thing. We still are doing a code, support Israel. If you guys want to go there, kind of looking forward to all that. Let me make sure. Are we still back on? I don't know if we're on. Yeah, we're on. We're back on. Okay. It just didn't look like we were per this thing, but I think that's being deceiving to us. Yeah, we're back on. Okay. So just a quick reminder, we are using a code. The code is support Israel. With that code on locals, you are going to get a year for the cost of 9 months. So you can go there. The code is support Israel. You can go there and do that. You can use that code right now. I think there's only a few of those codes left. But we just wanted to let you guys know what was going on there. And of course, we will do locals in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, let's take some questions. I know Dale is kind of keeping his eye out on some questions here. We'll take them and go over them, and then we'll jump on the locals for just a few minutes.
I'm muted.
Oh, you're muted. My goodness. See, I'm on the ball. I'm always on the ball. See, I just muted. All right. Yeah, so we got some questions.
Okay, Brad Brunn asks, question, would you please explain the difference between what is going on now in Israel versus what the Bible says about Gog Magog?
Oh, there's a big difference. So when we talk about the Gog Magog, and I assume you're referring to Ezekiel 38, what is happening right now has nothing to do with that. Ezekiel 38 is an actual concerted effort by a group of nations to attack Israel. And there are variables that exist within that attack that are very hard for people to be able to understand. One of them being that at the time of that attack, there's going to be a temporary peace between all of the nations, specifically more so the attackers that attack Israel, because like the attack that we saw recently, they are going to be very surprised when the attack happens. Now, for all intents and purposes, what you read about in Ezekiel 38 is a military incursion, right? And it's very difficult to be able to describe the differences. And I will, just for the heck of it, put up a little map here for you guys so that you can kind of understand what's going on, or what the picture is here, and kind of get an idea of what Ezekiel 38 is going to look like. Because with Ezekiel 38, what you're actually seeing is you're actually looking at these nations that you see here that are coming against Israel, right? This is the battle. Everybody calls it the battle of Gog Magog, but basically you are looking at Israel being attacked from all kinds of people, right? The Sudan, Libya, Iran, very likely Magog. The region of Magog covers a whole lot of nations, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. You've got Turkey, which of course is Gomor, Togorma, Meshach, Tubal. You've got Rosh, Russia, and Gog is presumably the leader of Rosh, who is in essence leading the whole thing, and they are going to be attacking. My guess is they're going to be doing it straight through Syria. They're coming from the north. My guess is they'll be attacking Israel through Syria, but that's what we're talking about here. So I just want everybody to understand what's going on, which is why, by the way, it's really, really significant to point out the fact that Russia is in Libya right now in a civil war that they're winning. So all of these things are valuable pieces of information to be able to know and understand. And so that's why we're talking about a very distinct difference. There's a big, big difference here. So that's what we're looking at here. So hopefully that's a decent answer to your question, bro.
Okay. Latanya says, question, how can we help Israel financially?
Okay, so we are working on that right now. We're going to put together a list of ways that you can do that. We hope to have some answers for you within the next week or so. There's a long process that I'm going through of vetting certain ways that we can help. In the meantime, the most effective way that you can help Israel is to speak the truth and to let people know the truth of what's really going on, because there are so many aspects of this that are remarkable. So I think that's for now. That's what we do, and then I will just tell you this: we should have some answers for you soon on the financial side of this.
Okay. Patty Lynn says, Patty Lynn Martin, do you think it's possible that Daniel, Psalms, Gog wars all could be one continuous war?
Okay, they're not. What you're talking about in Psalms, I assume you're talking about Psalm 83. I don't think Psalm 83 is a war that's going to happen in the future. I don't think it's speaking of that. I, like Andy Woods, take the interpretation that this is a basic lament that is being written here, but I do not believe that it's prophesying concerning a war that is coming. Now, there are some battles or incursions or things that we know are going to happen based on things that we see stipulated, yes, potentially in Daniel. Of course, as we see what Ezekiel tells us, there's a few other areas like this. So there's a lot here. But I don't see Psalm 83 here because I don't see Psalm 83 as a prediction of a war that's coming. And that's, I know that there are some people that's met with controversy with some people, but I don't think that it's all that controversial. If you think about it, it's actually a pretty basic issue. So, yeah, that's what I would say there. Hopefully that's useful.
Okay. Well, you just answered that question.
Well, we had another Psalm.
Yeah, Psalm 83.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of questions about Psalm 83 because it's being talked about a lot, and I don't blame right. people for having that question. It's kind of an important thing. So
okay, Lori 6602 from Rumble asks, I'm wondering if the attacks from Lebanon are true.
There are some very small little attacks that we've been able to confirm. We don't know the extent of it, which was one of the things I really needed to talk to David about. But of course, David was limited on time, so I was hoping to find that out. But I could get some more answers on that. Right now, it's nothing significant enough for it to be something that is alarming to us. I think it can go there very, very quickly, and I think it could potentially go there. I think David was alluding to that, by the way, a little earlier. About the reason why the United States of America, the president, is actually in Israel. I do think that there is a partial, for lack of a better term, a partial statement that's being made to basically put Hamas and Hezbollah on notice. I think there's bigger issues that are involved there. I think there's things related to Russia and so on and so forth, but that's beside the point. So that's kind of where we're at with all of this. So that's what I would say about that.
Okay, Val Halloran asks, question, do you think this conflict will die down or escalate?
I think it will escalate. I think it will escalate significantly before it calms down. Look, Israel's getting ready to flatten Gaza, and I think that has to happen. I think that it has to take place.
Okay, CNDV question: do we know how many of Hamas were killed in the Israeli counteroffensive?
The IDF normally regularly publishes that data. So I can pull that for you actually, because the IDF does such a great job with bringing a lot of that information over. So let me find out, because I know that with the IDF, they are very transparent about their operations when it comes to this. And I think they just recently released a new operational update as of 3 days ago. Let me see if I can find it here. I know I can request an update from a few friends or connections. 3,200 Israelis injured, 1,300 plus killed. There's 120 families have been notified about hostages being taken, 6,000 rockets fired from Gaza, and 2,687 targets struck. The estimate that I heard last time with respect to Palestinian casualties, I think are hitting now 300 is my understanding, and I could be wrong about that, but it's kind of where that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, we've got 2 questions about Damascus. Do you think this will lead to the destruction of Damascus? And does Damascus need to be destroyed before the rapture happens?
Damascus does not need to be destroyed before the rapture happens, although I think it will happen right before or right during or right around the same time after. I don't think it needs to happen. Could this be used for the annihilation of Damascus? Yeah, certainly. This could be a conduit for that. Undoubtedly, it could be a conduit for that.
Okay, and then probably something that a lot of people are asking: how close are we truly to the rapture?
I mean, I think we're close. I mean, I can't give days or dates or anything like that. I mean, I know that we've had a lot of people error recently that gave dates that said, you know, we'd be raptured before the 25th of September. We'd be raptured by there was that guy that was running his mouth and saying we're going to be raptured by the 19th of September. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, but I can't give you those dates because I just don't know. You know, and I think we all want the rapture to happen, you know, as soon as possible, but it's, you know, obviously it's very difficult to, it's very, very difficult to be able to say, you know, when it's going to happen, because God doesn't give us that. He hasn't told us. So I think that's kind of important.
Okay, what do you think about Bongino's take that flashbang is going to Israel to stall out the advancement into Gaza?
I don't think that that's an uncredible thing. I think he's actually stated the fact that he's wanting to keep or minimize the scope of damaging or ominous operations of Israel. That's not anything that they're like being very vocal about right now because of how polarizing this whole situation has become. But undoubtedly, that's what the president's going to attempt to do. I mean, we know that. That's not even a question. He's going to attempt to minimize an incursion, a full-blown incursion. But I'm going to tell you this right now. There's nothing nobody is going to be able to do to stop Israel from doing what they have to do. It's just not going to happen. Now, I will tell you this, that the fact that the president of the United States is in Israel right now in the current moment may actually stop the IDF from going in while he's in country, right? There may be that, just because of the issue of the demand of not only Secret Service, but, military intelligence and so on and so forth, because of how much it will endanger the life of the president, you know, in that current moment. But my guess is he's not going to stay in country for long.
Okay. Ashley Renee says, how long will this war be? Will the rapture happen before or after?
I can't tell you about the rapture, folks. The rapture can happen at any time. Okay, honestly, I have no way of knowing. And this war, this could take some time, right? Especially if the more surgical Israel chooses to be, which I think they're going to be less surgical on this one, the longer it can be drawn out.
Okay. Jethro Zulu says, how much could all of this be linked to the Third Temple movement and red heifers, etc.?
Well, look, clearly the Temple Mount is going to be a stated issue. It's a stated issue with Hamas. Hamas is actually saying one of the reasons why they did this is because of the struggle related to that Aqsa compound, right? So obviously, some of this is going to be Temple Mount based. I would not put it past Israel to basically say, well, you're not getting anything you want. As a result, we're going to take back the oversight of the Temple Mount. Jordan is not going to want to be quick to hold on to it, especially with the understanding that Saudi Arabia is putting pressure on Jordan to be able to be the guardians of the Temple Mount. So, and then with MBS's attitude regarding who should worship on the Temple Mount, all of this could come into play with that. It's very, very difficult to be able to say. There's a lot of assumption involved in this. And so, none of these are definitive conclusions. These are all assumptions that are being made.
Okay, Abraham Cohen from the IDF says, why are college students in the United States cheering Hamas? I know America and Israel are allies. I find it weird.
Because they're ignorant and they're brainwashed, and they're being brainwashed by professors that don't know what the heck they're talking about. They've never seen war a day in their life. They've never served in the military. They don't understand how bad it is. They don't understand our language, our culture. They don't understand our background. Most of these professors, if they went into the Middle East under Sharia law, would be killed themselves. So there's just a blatant ignorance that exists amongst them. And when they continue to propagate these lies under the auspice of their ignorance, that's where it drives things in a very dark way. And I think that's what we're watching right now.
Okay, Kevin and Dexler says, can you explain Palestine, how they're considered refugees, but the Philistines and Palestinians don't exist? All of that.
I think that's too general of a question for me to be able to hone in on any one thing. Let me just make this clear. What you call Palestinians are mostly Jordanians, right? There are many that come from Syria. There are many that come from other surrounding countries, Egypt, there's a large population of Egyptians that call themselves Palestinians right now. So the term Palestine was a term that was given to Jews in 134 AD, sometime around there, in an attempt to minimize them and make fun of them because they were named after their own enemies, right? So the first Palestinians that existed by name were Jews.
Okay, Golden Bear, he says, could Israeli intelligence be working against Netanyahu, like things we've seen here in the U.S. recently?
Yeah, no way. No, I highly doubt that. Especially when you consider Netanyahu's background. Netanyahu's a bit of a folk legend. Really not folk. I mean, the guy is real. Netanyahu was a commander of a unit that his brother died in under an operation of his direct control. And you want to talk about a hero. He is regarded by many as a hero, and he's a fighter and way too smart to allow people to manipulate him, right? And I think so I don't think that would happen. And I think that the intelligence agencies have never had a history, at least not in Israel, of working against the prime minister. They're too unified of a government for the purpose of defense to do that.
Okay, Mama Willow asks, question, do you think there's validity to China, Russia, and Iran all participating in the attack on Israel's AI security system?
Don't know. There's so much assumption there. I think it's not as sophisticated as that. I don't think that Israel's cyber system was actually attacked as much as Israel let their guard down. Israel's second to none in that area. They are the best when it comes to defense. So I'm gonna probably say no.
Okay. Seth Omlar, how do you see peace coming before Ezekiel 38? Will Israel attack Iran, or will a peace deal happen?
Very likely a peace deal. I don't know. There may be an attack at first. You have to keep in mind when things like this happen the way that they happen, they oftentimes can accelerate a peace process, believe it or not. So I just don't know. The safe answer to this is I just don't know.
Okay.
But I do know the end game, right? I know what's going to end up happening. So I think that that's kind of where things sit.
Question from It's Happening with Harper. I saw a report that said plans were found with Hamas attackers that instructed them to target children, schools, and centers. Is this true?
It is true. And the IDF is in possession of many of those. That is absolutely true.
Okay. I just caught up here, so.
Okay. Well, we're going to do this. I am going to take the link into Locals. Have you guys join us for those of you that are interested in doing so. We're going to just have we're going to continue on our talk with Locals here. If you guys are interested in that, once again, just a reminder, we do have a code. That code is Support Israel. You're going to want to jump in on that. It's actually a great deal if you're looking to support us. What you do on Locals goes directly to me and my family, by the way. It supports us, and for that, we're grateful. And we've got a great show planned for you for Locals this week. Oh, my goodness. It's a Locals-only show that Monkey and I recorded. It is awesome. You are going to want to watch it, and it deals with the intelligence issue. So I think you're gonna love that show. Again, we got a great deal going on right now with the code Support Israel. You get 9 months you get 12 months for the cost of 9, which is a blessing. So, all right, we love you guys. Keep fighting the good fight. God bless you. And remember, we need to support Israel. We need to tell the truth, and we need to fight the good fight. Okay, love you guys. God bless you.